Hello guys and welcome back. Today we are taking a look at the LiDi L15hw, which is a nice beginner drone with a weight of just 120 grams, including all accessories possible for the craft. It offers automatic takeoff and landing, a 720p camera, and all other features that similar drones in this price range have. I've just fast forwarded, like this we can have a better overview as there are many things. The set which I bought is kind of special because there is the 720p camera, there is this special clamp for the controller to put your phone in and to see the FPV image, and in this box there is also two spare engines if they burn out. This is a very nice pack, it comes directly in like 2 or 3 days. It's a great offer and it's even cheaper than buying from China and having to pay the custom fees. Also included in the package there was a small manual and an extra set of propellers and a screwdriver. It all came packed in this nice styrofoam bag which protected very well, and now let's take a look at the rest. So obviously the main thing was the drone itself. The landing gear can deattach and I have already attached it right away. As you can see, it's very easy, just to place the screw in, mount it with the screwdriver included, and you're done. The next thing is the camera, for example. It's a very nice camera. To use it you just need to slide it in and plug it in. Then there were these propeller guards. I used them on my first flights. Now I'm not using them anymore, but they're also very nice, come in the package. Then we have the battery, which is a 3.7 volt 650 milliamp hours LiPo cell. I would say to have an 8 to 10 minutes flight time, which I have with this drone. It's quite a capable battery and they are very cheap to get. You can get these batteries for around 3, maximum 4 euros. You have for sure one of these batteries. So they're a very good option also in terms if you need to change them out or have more of them so you can have a longer flight. Also included is this charger. It's a simple USB charger which plugs in to the battery and it outputs 400 milliamps and it charges the battery just in about more than 1 hour. It's about 1.5 hours. Then we obviously have the controller. I like this controller a lot. It's very steady in the hand, and considering the price of the drone, it's very nice to have a good controller which gives you a good feel in the hand. Obviously it's plastic, you can't expect anything too good, but it works very well. You have nice knobs, they're centered. You really feel if you are giving it yaw, for example, you can really feel if you're only up and down or you're going to the right or left, which is very nice. If we start on the top, we have a button which gives you the beginner mode and the 3 different modes, which are very nice. The speed modes of the yaw, the tilt angle. From my testing, the ascent and descent speeds of the quadcopter are not changed if you change the mode. So in my opinion, from my testing, they're always the same, independent from the mode. Then we have the second button here. If you just press it once, it will turn off or on the lights here on the bottom of the drone, and if you keep it pressed long, you will go into headless mode. The headless mode is quite interesting on this drone. It works very well, but you have to make sure that if you want to use headless, just make the bonding new. So make sure the bonding in between the controller and the quadcopter is new, and make sure, let's imagine the quadcopter is standing here, make sure to, if you started on this side, to be on this side before you start flying. Otherwise, if you go to the other side, for example, it will still imagine that you are on this side and it will fly totally weird if you're trying to fly headless. So keep that aware. If you just start on one side, make a new binding, so binding newly, and then it will work very well. If you already fly it for some time and you walk around, you can't just go there and put headless in, otherwise it will just do funny things. The funny things are basically it thinks you are on the side where you started and it will fly from there on headless. So it doesn't calibrate newly once you do the headless, only once you newly bind it. Then the next switch, which is on this side, if you press it once, you have the takeoff or landing. For takeoff, it needs to be rotating the propellers already or disarmed, and then you can press it and it takes off about maybe 1.5 meters, usually not more than that, and it hovers there. If you keep this pressed, it is the return to home function, and what it does basically is if you're flying with this copter in one direction, usually if you're flying it obviously to the front, the only thing what it does, if you press return to home, it will just fly backwards at about the speed of the first mode. Independent which mode you have in here, it will fly back at the speed of the first mode about. So it's great if you lose it from sight or so, you don't know where it is, you can make this, but in my testing I have never brought this drone further away than about 10 to 15, maybe 20 meters before you lose control. How do you know if you're losing control? Once the copter is flying and it starts to descend, like not steadily, but it starts to descend really oddly, and this means you're losing connection, and well, just try to get it back and extend your arms so it can reach you and come back. Then the last button up here is very simple. This button is only a once click, just on the others, like on the other side. If you click this, it will start like beep, 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 and you can choose where you want to have the flip. Yes, this is a flip button. If you press this one, you can choose if you want to have the flip to the front, to the back, or to the sides. But if the battery is low, it will just beep a few times and it won't do anything, as it doesn't have power enough to do the flip. Also, a small feature which I think could be implemented a little differently is a low battery warning, as there is a low battery warning, which is just the LED starts to blink. The red LEDs are always on during the flight, and once they start to blink, it means the battery is going empty. The only small thing is it doesn't really give you like a big warning. It just starts to blink, and after some time it starts to fall down and land automatically. Now, this is good and bad, because if you're flying somewhere out and you don't see the lights, it's gonna land somewhere else, and you're probably not gonna find it if it lands like in the neighbor's backyard, for example. So be aware of that, and always take a look at the lights, especially after like 6-7 minutes. If you're flying like crazy, or if you're flying quick, even 5 minutes, take a look at them, as you don't want the battery to go too far down and the drone landing somewhere you didn't pretend it. This connection here for the phone is very nice. You can plug your phone in here. This is my 5.5-inch phone, which you can plug in here very easily. As you can see, it still has space for a bit more, so I think at least a 6-inch fits in. This is how the LiDi app looks. Basically, the difference in between Play and 720p start is exactly the same. What happens is you will get this image, and until the phone is connected via Wi-Fi to the camera, and yes, to the camera, not to the quadcopter itself, you can control the quadcopter via the phone only, but the camera needs to be connected. Now, in this case, we won't get any image as it's not connected, but you could take a picture, you could start filming, you could do some things. You could also put, like we have here, 30, 60 and 100%, which are the 3 modes here. And we could also, if you choose where it's written now off, if you put it on, you have the flight control. So you could very easily now go around and fly it with your phone, which works quite well, but I personally prefer to have the manual joysticks, as on this quadcopter you have to be always with the finger on here controlling against the wind, and sometimes it's just a bit difficult to find the middle or exactly where you're going. On this one it's just much easier, as the middle is automatic and it will go back there very easily. Talked enough about the app and the controller. Now, as you can see here, I have already tested it. Obviously, I cleaned the upper part, but the lower I did not. So you could really see, you can see this has been into trees, into grass, into many things it shouldn't be, obviously, as I'm also not a big fan of the propeller guards. I'm honest. And what I want to mean by this, or what I want to tell you by this, it's really a very steady quadcopter. It's very robust. I've flown it into some trees, or some even into the bottom, even into the floor, like straight dive into the grass, and it works perfectly. And so far it has worked, I have to say, perfectly. I have maybe already flown it, let's say 2 hours maybe. I have already recharged this battery at least like 10 or 15 times, and it works perfectly. I have nothing to say about it. The only small issue, as I already mentioned, but just to mention you again, this is the only small thing I don't like that much, is if you have binded the quadcopter and the transmitter at one point, you flew it around and you moved comparative to the quadcopter. Let's imagine you're now on this side and you put headless mode in, it will imagine that you're still here, and this is a bit, you could make it differently, that it only gets your, I would say, your location or your position towards him, once you make the binding for the headless, but it doesn't. So as I said, my recommendation is just if you want to fly headless, switch it off, turn them both on again, make the binding from the side you want to stand on, and from there on it will work very fine. To change the propellers it's very easy, but about changing the propellers or even changing the motors, I'm gonna make a separate video, a second video about the LiDi L15hw, so you can take a look at what kinds of maintenance you have to do. The battery is placed in very easily. You just have to open this small door here, and there comes the cable out, where you can simply connect it like this, and you place the battery inside, slide it in, place the cable in, and close the door. It's as simple as this. If you want to place the camera on, it's also very easy, just slide it on like this. And if you want to slide it off again, you have a small button you have to push here, you push it down and it comes off. It's as easy as that. It works very well. Also the camera is very light. The whole camera is about 10 grams, so it's really light. We also need to plug the camera in, so it has power and it can transmit some signals to the flight controller. As I believe, if you're controlling it via your phone, as the Wi-Fi only works from the drone if you have the camera plugged in, I believe the camera is also the Wi-Fi receiver. I personally actually also fly the drone a lot without the camera, as it just flies a little bit longer, and this, as there is a little less weight on the drone, it's just a little more maneuverable and more fun to fly. Now what you want to do is switch the controller on firstly, then switch on the drone. And you're gonna see this kind of blinking now, they're both on, and you're gonna see this alternate blinking. This means he's looking for a binding. Now I'm gonna place the drone the right way around, so the gyro doesn't get confused. And now to bind them is very simple, just give them 2 seconds and pull it up once, and pull it down once, and now it should be binded. Let's see. Yeah, works perfectly. And now to take off, all you would have to do is unlock the propellers, and give it power, and it would start to take off and hover in the air. And now let's go outside and check out how this drone performs outside on actually quite a windy day. But this is when it gets fun to fly this thing, as you really have to maneuver it manually, as there is no GPS or anything to keep its locations, and theoretically speaking the drone has no idea where it is when it's flying. So you are the guy controlling it, and if you mess up, you might lose your drone. This is all I have to say, and now let's take a look how the drone performs outside on a windy day. So guys, I hope you could get a small idea in terms of how the drone performs outside on a windy day, as I tried it on a windy day so I could really see, because on a calm day, well, it's easy to fly and it's very stable. If there is no wind, it's basically as if the drone would have GPS. Especially if you're planning to buy a bigger drone later, I highly recommend you to buy a smaller drone, for example this one, as this one is, now I don't want to be saying names, but for example if you're planning to buy a Phantom or a Mavic, this is a great way to start, as it has very similar characteristics and it actually flies very similar, I would say. If you take out the GPS and if you take out a bit of the stabilization, it works actually very similar. But if you crash it, it's a 50 euro drone and not a 1000 euro drone. So obviously it's not gonna hurt that much, and it's a great learner drone. To conclude the video, I just hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, I would be very happy about a nice thumbs up down below. Also comment down below if you have any questions or ideas for my future videos or about the LiDi L15. And if you haven't, I would be very happy if you could subscribe to my channel right here, so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Thanks a lot for watching, I'll see you next time.